Welcome to Pagan Coffee Talk, a traditional Wiccan podcast where we will discuss topics affecting the pagan community from a traditionalist perspective. The topics we discuss are picked from our magical hat, and the discussions are unscripted. The talks will be led by Lord Chase Knight Smith, Elder and High Priest of Third Degree, and he's joined by Keegan, First Degree Priestess. Pagan Coffee Talk is brought to you by Life Temple and Seminary.
Welcome to Pagan Coffee Talk. I'm Keegan, and as always, Lord Knight.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
I'm good. Are you ready for today's topic?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. Into the Magic Hat. Free will versus fate.
All right.
What's your opinion, first of all?
On which
Do you
one?
think we have free will, or do you think we have fate?
I think we have free will.
Yeah, I kind of lean that way, too.
I don't necessarily believe in fate.
You don't think the universe or higher powers direct you in things that you're supposed to get done?
No.
What about your spirit guide?
Well, that's you and your spirit guide.
You don't think there's any direction at all there?
I think it's just like coming to see me for advice.
So you don't think that people have an end plan? This is where you're supposed to be. This is what you're supposed to be doing.
Not necessarily.
How come?
Well, I just don't.
Well,
I have a lot of people that come to me all the time and ask me for my advice and stuff, and then they don't listen to me and they walk off.
well,
You know,
advice is one
there
thing.
was no, but I mean, it's just like you're talking about your spirit guide. You can get advice. You have the choice to ignore it. You might be a talented musician. You have the choice still not to be a musician.
How do you know you have a choice?
Well, I mean, if it's not what you want to do.
I mean, how do you know? What makes you believe that we're not fated for whatever reason? I'll give you an example. When we were talking, me and another member were talking, and I said I believed in free will as opposed to fate.
Mm-hmm.
And the argument was, if you're destined to be at a certain place at a certain time, fate will step in to make sure you're there because it's your purpose at that point, or to keep you on the road to fulfill your end life purpose, to keep you between the ditches. Fate will step in. So if, say, you were going to go down the road and you could have been in a car accident, but you decided to have an extra cup of coffee and that prevented you being in that car accident, is that fate?
Well, technically, you never would know unless you could go back in time and leave early.
What would your argument be to someone who does believe in fate?
Well, I mean, there's not much of an argument there. If that person believes that they're fated to do something, me or nobody else is going to convince them otherwise.
Well, what makes you think free will as opposed to fate?
We make choices. We make decisions. Am I going to sit there and say some people are not talented, could do quite well in a certain job or skill or something like that? No. Does that mean they're fated to do it? No, they have the choice to ignore it. I mean, I don't know how else to explain that. Hence the reason it's a choice.
Well, how do you know that it's not your fate?
You might have something to pull you towards something, a particular faith, a particular way of doing things, and yet you could choose to not do that.
Well, how do you know that choice is not being driven by fate?
You don't, I guess.
And if you don't believe in fate, and it's totally free will, what's the point? What's the purpose?
I mean, if it's all planned out and we're already in something out there already knows the end, what's the point?
Well, for those of us that believe in reincarnation and as a learning experience, not a punishment.
Right.
Wouldn't that be a type of fate?
Yeah, but even in that argument, we can sit there and argue the fact that people don't learn that lesson and have to repeat that lesson again.
And who decides that?
Well, I guess
in your opinion?
I guess that individual.
Do you think it would be a collective decision? Or do you think it's completely individual?
It might be more of a collective.
Do you think that person has a choice to go, nah, I'm not going to do it?
Oh, sure.
What then? What happens?
Well,
Are you kicked out of the group?
I wouldn't say that. You just sort of wind up being stuck. You know?
Oh, my God.
What?
You know who would be better at this?
Who?
Benson.
Why?
Because his argument is for fate. It's hard to argue something that you believe in. I can't argue against free will.
No.
Because I believe in free will.
Right. You know, well, think about it this way. If you believe in fate, that you're fated to do something, there's nothing anybody can do to change your mind on that. Now, can certain things influence us, push us to go to a certain direction? Yeah. But then we can also choose to ignore them things.
Who does the pushing?
Well, I mean, anything that actually might care about you could be a person, an individual, a parent, a teacher, a spouse.
What about on a spiritual level?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is those people? I didn't say those people were alive. Now, did I? I believe things happen, and
do you believe things happen for a reason?
Yeah. I've been in a bad mood or had an issue with something. A song I've never heard of come on the radio, talking about it just exactly how I'm feeling.
Fate or coincidence?
A little bit of both. Or a little bit of somebody intervening going, hey, don't worry, you're not alone.
What about being with somebody you're with? Are you fated to be with that person? Oh, if it's meant to be, it will be.
Oh, you're talking about that whole soulmate thing.
No, I'm not talking about soulmates because I don't think of soulmates that way. I think soulmates are just people in your collective, in your group. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's, you fall in love with somebody and you get married. No, we're soulmates. Sure, but you're also soulmates to 15, 20, 30, however many other people.
Soulmates to me is a little bit more intense than that.
Why?
In our tradition, it's the binding of two souls. They're swearing a promise to meet each other in every lifetime and to know each other in every lifetime after.
Mm-hmm.
For those people who are out there and they're like, oh, I just don't feel like, I've ever found that other half, or I don't feel whole. And that's more likely because you're missing your soulmate. It's also a reason it's really hard to convince, traditionalists to hand fast.
Here's the thing. Here's my thought.
All right.
Let's, for argument's sake, we're going to say that we have a collective of 10 people.
Right.
And in this collective, we're made up of all the souls, or the spirits, whatever you want to call them, who plans to reincarnate. And we just hang out together. It's just our group. I don't know why we're grouped, but we are.
Mm-hmm.
So you meet people for the first time, but it feels like you've known them forever.
Yeah.
You have. They're part of your group. They're part of your collective. They're your soulmates. If you fall in love with one of them here on this plane, in the physical plane,
But my point about the soulmates is deeper than that. It's just, oh yeah, I've known you. I feel like I've known you forever. This is something else. Like you feel like there's a part of you missing if you don't find that person.
Sure. And when you do, it's like a feeling of coming home.
Well, coming
you can
home,
breathe again.
No, it's a feeling of wholeness. Like you're finally complete.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike what you're talking about is, oh yeah, I've known, Lady Greenbean forever.
Why?
We're best friends. We get along. I feel like I could trust her to start off from day one, and we just seem to click.
No, I'm talking about something deeper than that.
But, I mean, that's where I go with that group like you're talking about. Somebody you've known and friends with in every lifetime, and all that is just somebody you automatically click with.
But why would you need a soulmate?
Well,
in the way that you're talking about.
Well, in the way I'm talking about?
Uh-huh.
Because when you're hand-fasting, you're actually binding two souls together.
So you're creating two soulmates.
Yeah, sort of, but you're kind of like, imagine handcuffing two souls together for all eternity.
So you have to make soulmates then?
Yeah, you have to make soulmates. Soulmates are done by choice. Don't get me wrong, there's a downside to doing this, because if you don't find that person, you'll probably be miserable your whole entire life.
Well, here's my thing with that.
Don't get me wrong, you can still go on and live your life, get married, fall in love and all that, but you're still always going to feel like, there's something else out there. Something that just ain't right.
But if somebody like me believes in the collective, why would the need to bind be necessary? Because I feel like we all meet up when it's time to reincarnate over and over. We're always together, our little group, our little collective. So why would the binding of souls be necessary?
Some people just love the idea of it.
To you, in your opinion, do you think that's necessary?
No. I think it's a grandiose idea, and it's kind of cool that we can do this, but it's something I typically try to avoid. You got to have some good arguments.
But if we have free will, and I do believe we do, but to play devil's advocate here, if we have free will, why would that bonding work? I'm going to choose to no longer be bonded to you.
This still does not interfere with your free will.
What, if you change your mind? I mean, we're in our little, Summerland or Valhalla, whatever you want to call it, and you're like, we all are bonded, y'all have to do this together for eternity, and one of us goes, nah, change my mind.
No, well, I mean, you got to think about it this way. What if you do get hand-fasted and one soul goes and y'all both die and y'all are on the other side, you're sitting there in the Summerlands and you're kind of like, hey, you know what? I need to work on some stuff here. I know you need to reincarnate, go have fun. You're still running into the same problem, that neither one of these souls are going to feel whole until they're back together. It still doesn't stop free will.
It's just how you're going to feel away from that person then.
Right.
I guess because I think of us as, a collective, as a group meetup, a collective that you're part of.
Well, you see, most
the
people
soul bonding never appealed to me.
Right.
I mean, technically we're all bonded anyway.
See, we all tend to think, especially when we're talking about fate, oh, well, I'm fated to be this grand poobah person.
Mm-hmm.
A movie star, a rock star, oh, yeah, whatever. Just because you're fated to do that don't mean that automatically entitles you to that. How many kids can you talk to that's in some type of sports going, yeah, I was told I was fated to be some big sports star. Well, that's nice and dandy. Does that mean that kid no longer has to practice, play, and perfect that art?
No.
Do they just automatically get it for no reason? Do they get to go down to their basement and play, video games And they're just going to be good at it every time they go out on the field?
Well,
But I was fated to do this, and what? Now I ain't got it. I mean, we're talking about just like, like we talked about spell work. You might do a spell to become a good athlete, but it doesn't stop the need from going out and practicing and doing.
yeah, like you do a spell for a job, you still
Right.
have to put in applications.
Right. Jobs typically do not just fall in people's laps for no reason whatsoever.
No, not typically.
Not typically. Are there them odd people out there? Yeah. That just seem to have, like, for lack of a better term, the luck of the Irish, and, they slip on a banana peel and suddenly, we're rich.
Is that fate?
Is that fate, or is that just dumb luck?
That's the question now.
The right person in the right place at the right time.
Is that fate?
It's just the odds. The fact is that these things have to happen. For as much as we talk about the lotto, somebody eventually is going to have to win it.
You'd think.
I mean, it's happened. It's happened before. Somebody just happened to get the right numbers.
Do you think that person was meant to get? Do you think that person was meant? Do you think there's a bigger picture here, or do you just think it was a coincidence and all these people played it and she just happened to win?
Well, I mean, but did they really win? Because the majority of these people who win the lotto wind up a year or two later poor or worse off than they were to begin with.
So you could say that it is fate. You're supposed to be a homeless person living under a bridge. This is how your life is supposed to be.
No,
well,
actually,
get a
that's
job
just
at a Boston.
no, but that's just actually mismanagement of money because you're an idiot.
Or
Because you went out.
This life, you needed to learn you didn't learn certain lessons. So in this one, here's some lessons that you need to learn.
Well, they're still not learning their lessons because they didn't manage their money correctly. And now they're poor again and probably in debt.
I don't know. Maybe they were reincarnated on another planet that didn't deal with money at all. And they had no currency.
Maybe. Maybe what they needed to learn was pay more attention, to in school and actually learn more about finances and how things work.
So you're strictly by the book, free will, huh?
Free will.
Science and biology.
Science and biology.
You don't think that you and your partner were fated to be together?
Oh, no, that took work.
Right.
That took a little effort. Now, don't get me wrong, Osmond might give you a different answer on that, but...
What, he might tell you that it was no work and fun?
Well, yeah. Well, on my part, I'll sit there and go, I spent a lot of time tracking him down.
Right. If it was fate, he wouldn't have been so hard to acquire.
Yeah.
So that's, in your opinion, then, that would be why spells work as well, because you have free will. If it was fate.
If it was fate, the spells wouldn't work. If you were always fated to be poor, spells wouldn't work. If you were fated not to have love, spells wouldn't work.
I would agree.
Now, again, we're still talking about odds and stuff like that things happen. Oh, God, what is that movie? Brockovich.
Erin Brockovich.
The reason there's a movie about her is because this doesn't happen every day. If this happened every day, who would want to watch a movie about that?
Right.
I mean, this was a real thing that happened to this woman. And the reason they made a movie about it was this is not something that commonly happens.
She just took control of her life, didn't she?
Yeah. To me, that was free. That was free choice. That was showing free choice. I'm making a choice to do this. I'm making an effort. But like I said, if this happened to everybody, why in the world would they make a movie about it?
Or why take responsibility for anything?
Right.
It's fate. I'm sorry. It's
That's
fate.
fate. Yes. Me cheating on you. Oh, it was fate.
It's fate. This is a hurdle we're supposed to get past. It's fate.
Yeah, it's a hurdle that, I couldn't keep my pants up.
Yeah, it's a lesson I got to learn, babe. I'm sorry. It's fate.
I'm sorry. How are you going to believe me or your lying eyes?
You're going to believe me or the universe? Come on now.
Come on. I mean, this is sort of why I don't like fate. Because, in essence, you could blame fate for everything. You wouldn't have to take responsibility for anything.
Nope. And don't you think that for the people that think fate is the universe telling them, isn't that kind of self-centered?
Yeah. Oh,
wow, are you special?
Yeah, you're so important that the universe has plotted to put you in this exact position.
Wow.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Am I going to sit there and say there aren't souls that reincarnate that are innate teachers or gurus or, wise people? Well, yeah, but it still doesn't change their free will either. They have the choice to ignore those callings, those talents, to do something else instead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. I've talked for the past, 30, 40 lifetimes. I think it's about time for me to try something new.
I'm bored.
I'm bored.
Just not feeling it.
Prostitution sounding really good about right now. Oh.
Fun times for everybody. I haven't tried that yet. I'm doing that this
In a previous life, yes. I did work in a brothel. I was probably a bar witch too, so,
I would agree to that. I'd agree with that.
I do not think, no, it wasn't Joan of Arc or anything like that. I don't think I was actually anybody ever really important.
You mean historic?
Yeah.
You are someone important. You're just not writing any history books is all.
Say that's your own little fantasy you got there, and you can keep it. I'm not going to interrupt it, but
of course not. You think what you want.
You think what you want. I'll disagree with you.
Well, do you think the idea of fate came from the Greeks? The fates.
I think it came from an era in which there was no control.
And people answers?
Yeah, it was an answer to things. It was, because you got to remember, in the time when, most of these concepts of fate and stuff, what the average lifespan of a person, you were doing good to hit 40.
Right.
If you were born at all, because child mortality was really low, and God forbid if, mom passed on during all of this, was much higher.
Right.
It was easier to blame it on fate.
Oh, yeah. Those answers.
It was an answer. It was something there because there was less control. And as we gained more control over ourselves and our environment, not that we have a really good grasp on it right now, I think it's more of an illusion, but we think we do.
Right.
Fate became less of a concept and became more free will. Oh, yeah, it was fate that the harvest failed this year.
Mm.
Yeah, it's because we didn't do the right offerings to the gods at the right exact time. It's all your fault.
Was it fate, or was it locusts, or was it a blight, or was it a fungus?
Right. Or was it just dumb luck?
Yeah. It is what it is.
If you got to think about it this way. Think of how much had to go right and how much had to go wrong for us to get where we are now.
Where are we?
I mean, to live in the world like we do now.
And you think it's just coincidence?
It's just dumb luck. Well, I think we're about out of coffee. Is there anything else you'd like to know?
You can't prove this. Right. It's not something you proved.
Right, it's something you can't prove. It's by experience. Well, I'm out of coffee.
Oh, I've been out of coffee.
Thank you for listening to Pagan Coffee Talk. I hope you join us next week.
We travel down this trodden path, a maze of stone and mire. Just hold my hand as we pass by a sea of blazing pyres. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning breaks. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning breaks.